In today's video, we're going to look at replacing the temperature sensor in an early Porsche 944. My 944, which I have been working on restoring, recently started experiencing problems with the temperature gauge where the needle was dancing around and reaching the overheat zone after just a short drive. I had already replaced the DME temperature sensor, which is what actually controls the cooling system, so my assumption was that the second sensor, which runs the gauge, was faulty. Before we get into the actual process to change the gauge, I do have to add an important disclaimer. Although it probably doesn't look like it at first glance, the early 944s from 82 to 85.5 have quite a few differences from the later cars, with one example being the water temperature sensor. In the early cars like mine, which is an 84, they use a shorter sensor which from what I can find does not make direct contact with the coolant and features only a single connector. The later style does contact the coolant and features a different connector. The process for changing both should be basically the same, but you need to make sure to buy the correct sensor for your car. This should be fairly simple to identify visually, so check on your car before ordering a replacement. The later style sensors are available for around $30 to $40 at the time of filming this, with the early ones being a little more at around $50 to $60. I'd highly recommend testing yours before replacing it, as the wiring or gauge could be faulty rather than the sensor, which I learned the hard way. I'll link a page by Clark's Garage below which goes over how to test that. The process to swap the sensor is fairly straightforward, although it's definitely a bit of a pain due to the location. I opted to first remove the rubber throttle body boot to give myself a bit of extra space to work with, but I think you probably could do it without doing that if you feel like being a masochist. I also pulled the frontmost spark plug wire for the same reason. Once you do that, all you need to do is unplug the wire to the old sensor and then unscrew it. As I mentioned earlier, the old style sensor doesn't contact the coolant, so unless it has been modified, no coolant should leak out. I'm not sure if this is the same for the later style. At the time, I wasn't sure if it went into the coolant or not, so before installing the new sensor, I added some high temperature thread sealant just to be safe. Remember that you're threading into aluminum, so be careful not to cross thread the sensor. After that, you just reattach the wire and you're done. Or, if you're me, you realize the sensor was not in fact bad and it was actually the gauge itself. Thankfully, I did have a spare lying around which I got with the car, which appears to be working. I definitely wish I had tested it prior to buying a replacement, but at least I hopefully have one less sensor to replace in the future. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them, and if you liked this video, be sure to stay tuned for my next one where I'll be addressing one of the most common issues with these cars, that being a leak into the passenger's footwell. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here soon.